So first of all, thank you guys. I'm starting a podcast. I never believed I would have started a podcast or a vlog or anything like that. But if you're here, I want to say thank you because we know each other from somewhere. But even if we don't, now we know. So thank you very much for coming in. And so this is my first podcast. I have recorded this with a friend of mine who's also an elite ace ice skater who has represented India around 300 times, a super athlete in some sense, and is paving the way for ice skating in India, wherein we don't have any infrastructure at all, in some sense. And he has a connection with Ladakh because Ladakh is also a place where people are crazy about ice, be it ice hockey, ice skating, and things like that. And so, yeah, this was recorded on January 18th this year, but this is, I'm posting it today. And, I just want to say that I'm trying to get guests that I'm, curious about. This is basically I'm someone who's interested in multiple things, and this is one of my curious itch, so to say. And with this podcast, what I want to do is I want to explore this curiosity and in some sense, raise my own awareness about certain things, be it sports, films, music, technology, architecture, arts, and just people who I find interesting, curious, and things that I want to understand. And it could be anything, spirituality, things that I'm not comfortable with. So it's just a curious inquiry, nothing else. Just want to say thank you. Wanted to record a small message before we start. So, Vishi, thank you for doing this.
No worries.
We've known each other for a while.
Yeah, it's.
But still,
we know each other now.
Yeah, it's been it just feels like yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so I want to start. We're here in Ladakh. This is Vishi's room in Abdus, yeah.
Hosts, so yeah, thank you, Fazal.
Yeah, thank you, Fazal and Abdus.
Yeah.
So you're here to train, and this is like your 5th time in Ladakh.
Yeah.
I met you the first time you were here.
Second time.
The second time you were here, you were shooting a documentary. You were making a film, basically, right?
The thing is, the idea is always to come and train here. But as stories go, or when you're on a journey, it's all about how you're able to tell the story. So I have some wonderful friends around me who always want to come when I'm in Ladakh to capture the content and hopefully try and tell a story. So that's what we've been trying to do always. Every time I'm here, I try to make sure that we're able to tell that story in one form or another. So, yeah.
Okay. So this fits into your training regime, right? It's like
more or less. I'm trying to make it fit more.
What place does Ladakh have in your life now that you've been coming here?
Oh, it's a special place, man. It's because 2018, I came with my friend Ravi, with whom I grew up. He's also a wonderful filmmaker.
A childhood friend.
Childhood friend. So 2018 was a special year because it was the year I had aimed at trying to qualify for the Winter Olympics. And I had a series of crashes. And it was the end of the road for me.
You got injured?
I got injured just before the season started. And everything was going wrong that year. Everything was going wrong. So one of my friends in the Netherlands, he told me, he's a musician. So he told me the most musician idea ever. He's like, hey Vish, I think you guys have the Himalayas? He's Dutch. I was like, yeah, I know. Why don't you go to the Himalayas to find yourself? And I was like, okay. 2 weeks later, I come up with a plan to go ice skating on Pangong Lake. And I tell him, like, I'm going to go now. He's like, no, I meant in the summer. I'm like, no, winter right now, it's good. So I called Ravi up, like, hey, I'm going to do this. Ravi's in the middle of a shoot or something, like, oh yeah, cool, I'm going to cancel 2 weddings and I'm going to just come with you, like, oh right. So him and his wife joined me. And we just ended up going to Pangong So. And I remember the first time I stepped on the ice on Pangong So, I was so emotional because
I think it's also like a record.
Yeah, the record and I think the record and all of that is just a byproduct. At this point of time, I realized because it was more emotional because I was in India. I was in Ladakh, obviously, and I was skating on the ice on Pangong So. And I was like, what is going on? Struggling like a dog in Europe, sleeping on couches for the longest time, trying to figure it all out. And coming back to India to realize, like, no, I had it all wrong, like the Himalayan advantage, the advantage of the Himalayas. And altitude training is a big integral part of all the elite sports out there. So I was like, well, it's a 10-hour flight or 12-hour flight all the way end to end. Why not? Let's just go and figure this out.
Yeah, I see it's got internalized into your regime now.
Yeah, so
you're trying to do it every...
Exactly, so I'm trying to do it every year. This year I think I'll be doing it three times. Hopefully, if everything goes well to plan.
2023, big year.
It's always a big year, man. It can't take it as one year is a big year or the next year isn't. So you just have to take the year as it comes and make sure you make the most of that.
Okay. So I wanted to move to how did it start for you? Like, where did it start? How did you get into ice skating? And also because, you're an athlete who's representing India. You've been to more than 200 races, 301 races, where you've represented the country. And I know you have the blue tick on Instagram, but I'm saying people still I'm sure they don't know enough about you. So, anyone who's tuning in first time, so who is Wishwraj? What is his story like as an athlete, as a human? Where does it all start for you?
I think as humans, we are all on this journey together, right? All humans in the same time span that we are in India. We are on this planet Earth. So I think I was just trying to optimize the human experience, and sometimes you are lucky enough to get that experience, and I look at it as a privilege in that sense, that I was able to kind of follow that through. And
I know you were rollerblading in your younger years.
My whole life because I'm a third generation athlete in the family. My grandfather used to play hockey for the university. My aunt, 10-time national champion for roller skating, and she also was almost in the Indian team for hockey. My father...
Multi-discipline.
Yeah, multi-sport. The whole family was really good at sports. And whatever sport you put them in, they'll go to national top. This is in the 70s and the 80s. Because our family, one thing was the most important was sports, the human achievement. Money comes and goes. Businesses come and go.
So there was a focus on sports.
Focus on sports and what would people remember you for, And sports achievement is nobody can take them away from you. Sorry. So then I started roller skating at a young age. My first nationals was at 14, when I was 14 years old, and then it started from then, 99, when India was at war with Kargil.
Here in Ladakh.
Yeah, and then
the synchronicities, man.
Exactly, 99 was my first nationals. That was insane. What is going on? Because it was very special, and then since then there was no looking back. times, I think, state championship I won, like for roller skating. No, actually 3 times. It's been such a long time ago.
Yeah.
But like basically 5 times in a row, I would go to the nationals, and I would be just there, trying to win a medal. Eventually did win a medal. Eventually did, do all of those things. Went through the grind. A gold medal at the nationals for roller skating, inline skating, and then got picked up to do the Indian team trials, where I also finished in the top 2, top 3 overall for all distances. And subsequently, well, there also one of the things happened. An injury happened again. I was cycling also.
Okay, this is at a young age.
At a young age, again, multi-sport. So, and one of the races, I crashed into a truck. Actually, a bus and then a truck, whatever. So then.
Did it halt your progress? Because you were kind of flying. It feels like
exactly. A kind of speed breaker on the way. I was like, shit, man, what's going to go happen? And that year we were favorites to win the Asian Championships.
So you missed on that.
I missed on that because the whole team went, juniors and seniors, boys and girls. All of them won a medal, but the senior boys did not. And that was because of me, because I was one of the missing links in the relay races, where I could have actually made a difference by being there. That was a shame, obviously. But then subsequently, inline hockey was introduced in India in 2006-07, and the Asian Championships were being hosted in India. So
you were part of that?
I was part of that development, and I was the assistant captain, and we developed the whole, because I was also playing hockey in school, so I was trying to merge hockey and speed skating, or inline skating together.
Okay, that's a sport.
Yeah, so inline skating, like the summer version of ice.
With the hockey?
Yeah.
Okay.
The summer version of ice hockey.
Okay, that's interesting. I did not know about that.
No, yeah. So
I did some roller skating as a kid in school. I remember we used to do it under the auditorium.
Yeah.
I learned it there, but yeah, I didn't know it was the hockey was also
so
there.
Same ice hockey sticks and a puck and all of that, some gear. So that happened, and then eventually I also represented India at the World Championships for inline skating, speed skating. And that was the last time I was at the national top or whatever. And then I just decided to move, because when you dedicate 10 years of your life to a sport, even for your country, then I saw the ceiling in that time, that okay, this is it, I can't go beyond this. And then the switch was obvious. I packed my bags, moved to Europe.
So it was very organic shift, or it came to you? Because I don't know where ice skating and all winter sports was in India.
Exactly. So the ice skating obviously was nowhere. I mean, there was an association, I think, and I would see Shiva Keshwan. The guy.
Yeah, Shiva Keshwan, the luge.
Yeah, for luge. He's 6-time Olympian.
Big respect to Shiva. He's from Manali. He's had a very. I have some info on him as well.
I have love for him, because every time I want to vent, I call him up, and he just listens to me quietly and nicely. Yeah, it's okay. This will be fine. So he's been always around, Keshwan, and
This actually brings to something I want to ask you about, mentors or support system. Because you seem to be from a family. It's not the case for most athletes.
Yeah, but also with my family, the goal was not to get so far. The goal was the national gold, maybe play once for India, and that was it. But I was not satisfied. I was my aunt has already played India in '83 when we had nothing, So for me, that was not the only goal. It was just I wanted to go beyond and above and beyond, and
Yeah, you were continuing with Shiva, so you.
Keshwan has always been there, and so I kept on seeing him going to the
Olympics
and winning the Asian Championships, gold, fastest man of Asia.
Asia.
Amazing, so I was very fascinated with that. So for me, it was always okay, this guy can do it. It doesn't matter where he comes from in India. He's from India, right?
Yeah, because literally there is no infrastructure or support system.
I think that's the thing. I always tell people, if you find any winter sports athlete from India, he is there because he loves the country, he loves the sport, and he wants to do something about it. They are motivated enough.
Yeah.
And, no amount of money can stop them from doing it or stop them from keep going. So so it was not organic. It was always there. Hey, something has to be done about this. I need to go to the Olympics and winter. And then Winter Olympics. Yeah, fine. Ice skating close enough, but it isn't. When I started doing it, I realized it is definitely not close enough. And And yeah, that was it. Moved to Europe.
Okay, so how did that happen? And like,
So I was going through the newspapers once, and it said study in Denmark.
because it's a big shift, I feel.
Yeah, it was absolutely a big shift. My family was also like, my mom wanted me to study more engineering. I was an engineering study student.
Yeah, can you also go on to that? Go into that,
exactly.
your academic
and my father was like more like sports, yeah, right. And
parental expectations.
yeah,
And
for example, my father's academy has 700 national medals for roller skating now, right? So, yeah, so there was just like, he knew that, okay, maybe if he picks it up, he might be too serious about it, but then he has to move away from home, and no parent wants their kids to go away from home, obviously. So that was a dilemma, but okay, that is something which happens and everybody has to deal with it. And yeah, so I saw study in Denmark. I opened the European map, Denmark and the Netherlands, because Netherlands is where I wanted to be at, because that's where long track speed skating is like cricket to India.
yeah, can also explain your discipline and
so
because
I do long,
it's also like
Yeah,
giving
precise.
out information,
Yeah, of course.
teaching people.
So I do long track speed skating,
Yeah.
which happens on a 400-meter oval,
Okay.
and there are all sorts of different disciplines on it. There's 500 meters, there's 1,000 meters, there's 1,500 meters, there's 5,000 meters, there's 10,000 meters, there is team pursuit, there is a mass start. Mass start is something which I'm very keen on, and 5 and 10 kilometer long distance. I'm a long distance athlete.
Speed skater.
Yeah, athlete or speed skater. And yeah, so that's where like it's as big as cricket to India. Netherlands has long track speed skating.
Okay, so
yeah, and yeah, that was it. I had to get here somehow, and Denmark was where I could apply for education, and it was the cheapest also. Like if I took a student loan, I mean, we couldn't afford. My parents couldn't afford to send me abroad, so we just had to take a student loan and go. So the smallest amount, which has been repaid obviously by now. But we had to do that, like make sure that was done. So I showed up in Europe, Denmark, without knowing anyone.
Yeah, so how was that, getting into a new ecosystem or a new culture, but having this dream,
exactly,
coming in there to learn something, to, get to somewhere that you want to be as an athlete.
What really helped is because the athlete mindset, we go into a scenario with an open mind, like, hey, like analyzing a race also. When you're in the race, you're there with an open mind, you're checking everybody out, what are the other athletes doing. So I think that helped me a lot. And plus the goal was very clear. So everything for that goal and the dream, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do.
So growing up, did you, like, during this time, growing up, who were your heroes, people you were looking up to? Obviously, you mentioned Shiva. And anyone else, and anyone particular, not necessary from your sport, maybe, there were more heroes from different disciplines or different sports, or even not from sports.
Yeah, so my aunt, because she was like a 10-time national champion for roller skating, figure skating.
Did you spend time with her as a kid, or?
Unfortunately, I could not, because she moved to the US early on. But I could. Yeah, we have always been in touch, and we are still in touch. And she always has she always has my back. I think that my grandfather, obviously. So it's mainly some family members. And if you see outside the family members, there is a runner called Steve Prefontaine. He's an American runner. His coach founded Nike.
Oh, okay.
So,
Steve.
Bill Bauman.
Okay. Bill Bauman. I know about Bill Bauman and Phil Knight.
Yeah,
they're like, I think, the co-founders of Nike, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think these are, and Keshwan obviously, and Sachin Tendulkar, for example, because I remember they were just...
Did you play any other sports as a kid? Like, obviously you were mentioning about hockey, cycling, and...
Football a little bit, but also not too seriously. Because again, my parents knew that if I played any sport seriously, I would be kind of okay at it, because it was generational, and unfortunately in those times, playing a team sport in India was not an option, because it's too political and too corrupt.
We're going to come to the struggles around that.
So then it was just one of those things, and so there was, team sport was not allowed, but I still managed to play a little bit of hockey for the school and the district I was in. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Football, yeah. Cycling, a lot of cycling. But then once I had those crashes, I was not allowed to get on the bike again until I moved to Europe, and then I got to cycle a lot. Now I'm cycling.
Yeah, I see. I always follow you, so you're cycling a lot right now.
Yeah.
It's a big part of your training.
It's a big part of our training because we use the same muscle set. And
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
So I was going into like structural challenges and things
so
like system wise, and
Europe is very much system oriented. Everything is system. So that was a bit difficult to adapt because I come from a chaotic being just a chaotic person myself. So yeah.
So here in India, do you have more athletes like you? I'm just curious. I don't know if there are like any other speed skaters and like that.
There are speed skaters, definitely.
Or when you were starting out, and you were going, relocating to Europe. At that time, were there any others that you were also in touch with, or like
I think
new?
At that time, social media was not that big yet, so it was difficult, obviously, to kind of be in touch with other athletes that much. So yeah, it was difficult at the time to get in touch with athletes, but I think there were some.
Okay.
But then once I started taking up seriously this, I realized how difficult it is. So you cannot be a part-time athlete. Like if you spend 6 months or 8 months in India and then just expect by spending 2 months in Europe or away abroad that, hey, I'm going to be a good skater. That is completely, you will be like, it's irrelevant, completely irrelevant. Like that is like a vacation. You're not a vacation athlete. You don't want to be a vacation athlete. You can do that for a couple of years. But to be serious, to be in the top elite of the world.
But I was just thinking about it because you were mentioning there was probably no federation.
No, the association was there, but obviously the funding and.
So what was like structurally? I just want to know: was there any support, or like limited support? Was there anything that you got helped?
Help is a big word. So like, what sort of help are you looking
like, let's say financial help. You really relocate.
Financial help you can't expect.
Or sponsorship kind of thing, or
you can't help. You can't expect.
Or maybe with competitions, or
like your entries would be sent, for example. But financial help, you would say, like if my expense is 100 rupees to compete in Europe, a year. Then if I'm barely able to raise 20 rupees of that 100 rupees in a year, that is a good year for me. So it is not just the government organizations or the federations, it's also the private companies or the private players, and all of them have also not stepped up whenever was necessary. So it's still like in the Olympic year itself, I would say it was, if I needed 100 rupees, I was able to raise 20 rupees.
So it was all done
within that 20% of
by you or your team, or
me, myself, and people are associated, means friends and family.
So it was mostly like a very individualistic kind of effort.
Exactly, we approach people and just try to raise things. So funds are, and obviously.
So there were silver linings, like
But I also see like the other aspect of it is how can you expect an Indian organization or Indian companies to kind of get behind the niche sports or the sport when the first question is there is no infrastructure. How are you going to manage this? But I already managed it. Oh, okay. Then the question is like, all right, now let's talk. So.
You obviously okay, and they saw finally when they see something, then they want to get involved or something like that.
Yes, 100%. So. And that's like, you have to understand 125 companies have rejected my proposition for sponsorship.
Oh, so can you tell about that?
Yeah, so it's just like the same questions all over again. Like, what is the sport? There is no scope.
There's no visibility.
There's no visibility. There is this. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. I have my explanations for that. Like, hey, how about just, your own organization, and how about we just make sure that they get exposure to this, or. But it's again, that is a question of motivation also from the end of the different companies, which I don't blame them because it's their money. They can decide what they want to do with it. So
yeah, because I'm also feeling like obviously, we have a lot of, let's say sport-wise, cricket is big. Now other sports have started to kind of compete actually big because football is coming up. And structurally we don't have that sort of an infrastructure, maybe except cricket right now, but other, let's say all the Olympic disciplines and things like that. So when I was a kid, I think I mentioned this to you before also, and it was suddenly I used to read a lot of newspapers, and the 2000 Olympics was happening, and Karnam Maleshwari out of nowhere wins a medal. And that's when I got to know about weightlifting, you know. So, and likewise, like, you know, if you talk about someone like PT Usha or Milkha Singh, so I think maybe your journey could be like that. This is what I'm like feeling, you know. Maybe I'm praying that.
Let's hope so.
That you know you eventually put.
Let's hope so, because it is again. It is anything. Anything can happen. I can also crash and burn next week. You know, so sports is very uncertain. The only thing certain is you have to work hard. That's it.
So just that you said that. What gets you excited every day?
I think the fact that I can ice skate, I can still pursue my sport, and I am able to do that. I think that's it. Apart from, I mean, obviously, I live the life I do because of it, and you get to see the world. Definitely, that is a byproduct. I made to meet wonderful people along the way, amazing people along the way. So, and also as some very
including your
nice
wife. So yeah, I was just going there and I was thinking about you're a young father.
Mm-hmm.
You've two lovely kids.
Yes.
How has that kind of got into your life? Because I know I was reading this book by Andre Agassi. He's one of my all-time favorite athletes.
Have his book also. I read his book.
It's called Open, and his life was like, I think his dad kind of in a way abused him as a kid.
I think all dads who are also your coaches have the same story, and
but he gives credit. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
like he always,
because it is because of that turmoil at a young age that he could close his eyes and hit the ball in a certain direction, and it would hit that ball, hit that angle, or hit that spot. So I think being a parent, it is. I've seen my parents now when I think about it, because being a parent is difficult. I see.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think, like you're pursuing. You have this big Olympic dream.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think the personal life takes a toll. Definitely a big toll on the family. It is a big expense, I would say, and no amount of money can repay that.
Big expense. That was
a big emotional expense. Also.
Okay, like
emotionally, you're away from your kids, you're away from your family all the time, a lot of times of the year, which is really not nice. Then you also want to gauge, like question what you do a lot more. Is this worth it? Is this worth it?
That self-dialogue comes in.
Negotiation with self is something which we do constantly, isn't it? So.
Okay, you hold more than like 71 national records. I was just going into your laurels, so to say. You qualified for the World Cup this season.
I had qualified for 2 seasons. Now again, I have to go through the whole.
Okay, and then you have like a few medals. Those are there.
Yeah.
4 medals in the Winter World Games, Masters. Can you tell about your journey till there? Because I feel like you're almost at the the pinnacle.
No,
not pinnacle of your own performance with those medals and those performances.
So I think 2018 when I came here first was like my kind of, do I want to keep going? Okay, I want to keep going, and this was like the short-term goal. I could still do the Masters because I had not qualified for the Elite World Cups.
How does all that come into your like?
We're very lucky to have Wim Nieuwenhuizen. He's the Einstein of the sport. He's been involved with the sport for 60 years. He's made world champions and Olympic champions through their development journey. So I think with his guidance and him in our corner, anything can happen. He's fought cancer, so he's gone through a heart surgery just before I was to leave this time around, and he just, he shows up.
He's a fighter. Sounds like a fighter.
Yeah, he's a fighter. I think a journalist also asked him in Netherlands once that, hey, Wish must be really, they call me Wish in Europe, so Wish must be really.
I call you Wishy.
So Wish must be really talented, isn't it? He goes, no, he's not talented. Like, what do you mean he's not talented? Like, then what does he?
Why are you coaching him?
With him for such a long time.
Yeah.
Are you stupid? And then he goes, no, he doesn't give up. I think if he doesn't give up, I can manage this very well. Like, I have had talented skaters all my life. I mean, he said, I've always had talented skaters, but mostly all the talented skaters have not been able to break through, a lot of them, and only the hard workers have. I mean, I grew up in India training, so we would get up at 4 in the morning, train till 7.
Conditions are such.
Yeah, so it's just by now naturally. It's also like
By default.
By default, exactly, and that's why coming to India kind of reminds you of that. Also, like gives you little.
You do, yeah. I like it. Just got me there. Like thinking about the kind of what do you draw from India and your Indian background, and
I think the emotion we put into life in general, like is just really a lot of emotion we put into our lives. I think that the passion of the pursuit. Also.
It's also like it's also a big challenge every time somebody wants to do something in India.
I think it's getting easier also depending on where you are in India. So that way it's getting easier, but also like we've still not been able to solve our problems for good infrastructure, healthcare, education, women welfare,
basic needs, basically.
Basic needs. If you see like a handful of states in the country are able to provide that, and the other majority of them are not. Even if we want to say, yeah, they do, but the statistics say otherwise, right? So then how can you expect like sports to get, support or the light which it needs? So I would say, yeah, we have still a long way to go, but we've still done a lot within the given resources. We have like the ice hockey community in Ladakh, which is big, 5,000 ice hockey players in Ladakh, one province.
A very small place.
And
the passion is there.
Exactly, the love is there, the passion is there, and that's it. So I think at some point.
Have you been enjoying your time here? Like
I always
this.
love it here. It's just like I always get.
We were at the matches yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome. Like
it was also funny. Like I get this invitation from other mountain states in India to come and
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, well, guys, you expect things from me, and I don't expect anything from you, but there is a certain commitment from your end, which is there when I go to Ladakh. That's not anywhere else. So
you feel the love here.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a bit different like that way.
So I was thinking, like as an athlete, because what do you think are your qualities? Like your coach was mentioning that you don't give up. Maybe that's that. What do you personally think is your like some attributes that you feel?
I think fanatically looking for positives in everything you do. Only that. I think just keeping.
Yeah, because mindset. Obviously there are many like unseen. Obviously, the world knows you when you get to a big stage.
Yeah, I mean, when I got that medal, India Today did like a big poster, like story, and I was like, yeah, all right. You guys were not around when, But so it's just it's just one of those things, and which is a bit unfair. I would say which is a bit harsh, not unfair, but that is life in general. Indian cricket also until '83 was like.
Not
known. Hockey was big before that. So it's just you need.
It's just maybe that point sparks it.
Even if I win a medal tomorrow, I think Ladakh will be the only place where it might get recognized and be known more than anywhere else.
Because people are invested in the sport.
People are exactly invested in the sport. They can touch and feel. I've been here so many times. People can see like, oh man, this guy,
Yeah.
I remember the first time I was skating in Gupuk's, like when the 2018 I was there. I remember Ravi was trying to click us, and there were people like playing hockey. Once I did one fast corner, people stopped and started to watch, and there were people gathering to see what I was doing, So
if you have to, because you're talking about all these athletes and young people that you meet and interact and see here, and you see a passion for ice skating or ice hockey, anything related to ice is good for you.
Ice skating sports, yeah.
Yeah. So what would you like? Let's say if you want to say something to the young people who are watching or anything like that, what would your like bit be to them?
Don't give up.
Simple as that.
Just keep it simple and don't give up. That's it. And keep trying to find a way. Keep trying to find a way, because there is always a way.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, and even in Ladakh I'm seeing like this, like things are kind of coming up together. Obviously also as well that we are getting this rink made, a lot of things are happening, but it's slow as hell.
It is.
It's what it is, but still, yeah, it could be. And so what does Vishy after you know, that the sad day will come when you
Yeah, of
retire.
course
You
it's
know,
coming, so-
I don't want to just trigger you.
No.
No. But yeah, but there is a lot to do still.
There's always
What do
a
you
lot
see
to do.
yourself doing? What do you feel? You know, what will the moment be, and what are you looking forward to after that?
I think I'm very excited about getting involved with the development of the sport on the grassroots in India. Hopefully getting an academy running.
Yeah. What are your ideas? Yeah, I was going.
Hopefully getting an academy running, getting infrastructures in India. There's potential enough that it makes financial sense also. People are asking the right questions now. 10 years ago when I started, nobody was asking the right questions. People are now asking the right questions. So that helps a lot. People, when I say private investors and government, so people are asking the right questions. There's a lot of interest. So I think just a matter of time. So I hope to be able to be a little part of the growth story or the development of winter sports or ice skating in India.
Yeah, I think when you qualify for the Olympics, that'll be the moment, man. That people will take note. It'll come out in the news.
Yeah, I see, you know, when I won those medals, I was hoping that was the moment.
Yeah, that was the moment. Obviously, they missed it, but
Yeah, but
that's not.
exactly.
Yeah, you like you were saying, it's
Yeah.
part. You take it in your
Exactly.
stride.
So I'm also just looking at it in that sense. Then I thought when I qualified the World Cup was the moment. When the first World Cup was the moment. Second World Cup was the moment. But it's still nothing happened. And
You still hold the record, right?
yeah, the records are fine. But
Yeah.
it's just records are meant to be broken. Maybe some kid will break it. I know somebody will break it. You know, so
Yeah. I was thinking I was going to ask you this little off, but I was going to ask you maybe, is there any practice, like, people do this visualization?
yeah. So visualization is a big part of my practice training, whatever you want to call it. You just have to see yourself there every day.
I'm seeing it happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I don't have anything else
Yeah.
to ask you. If you want to say something, you can.
No,
always.
just that's it. I think. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing it. Always a pleasure talking to you. You're around for a few days. We'll see each other.
Yeah, obviously we're gonna see
You know,
each other, so.
and thank you. That's
Thank
all.
you very much. Yes.
Hug it out.
Yeah, hug it out always.